Hi, everyone. So I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo. I'm having so much fun uh, addressing your questions around open and poly relationships and children and how that intersects. I work with a lot of children's and families through the speech and language therapy that I do, through the learning and behavioral therapy I do, through the relationship and life coaching, business. It's so fun how this all can overlap and how we don't have to actually create separation from all of this and compartmentalize it. It takes so much energy to separate all this out. And so one of the questions that led to this video, and thank you for the person that asked it, you know who you are, was this idea of, well, how do I actually navigate open and poly relationships when I have a kid? Like, as if it's going to be more complicated. And there are some different considerations for sure, but I actually am going to address the myths, the 5 top myths that I hear about open and poly relationships that might give some clarity to this person and to anyone else that has kind of considered it. First, I'd like to distinguish open and poly. So open relationships are the relationships in which someone has a partner and then they are going to either kink play, other kind of play, have sex with somebody else, but they're not in a relationship with them. Maybe it's just once, like a one-night stand, or once in a while, but there's not a relationship commitment, dedication component to it. It can be one person, it can be multiple people. And so there's this agreed upon that this is okay. There's an agreement that one or both people in this relationship, in the primary relationship, can do that. So that's the key part. Both open and poly, there's an agreement. It isn't cheating. That's one of the first myths right here. You can see it right here. It isn't cheating because it's agreed upon by everyone involved, okay? Cheating is when there's a lie involved, when you are going against what has been agreed upon, both explicitly or subtly, non-verbally in your relationship dynamic. Now, poly, if someone's choosing polyamory, which literally means many loves, okay? If they are choosing that, that means that one or the other or both people in the primary relationship have other relationships. That's the most broad sense of it. That includes friendships. That includes family relationships. That's how I see it. But in this romantic sense, it's when you have another relationship with somebody else that you're also committed to in addition to your primary partner. I want you to have at least a general distinction. So open is like one night stands or, one-off type of dynamics, type of interactions. You might not be planning out future stuff with the person that you interact with when you're open with them. Okay. While the poly is someone that you're actually would like some regularity, some frequency with. There is a different level of commitment there, and they'll be with multiple people. And the ways that can show up are numerous. And I have a lot of great books and resources that I can send your way if you'd like more information about this. I love reading about this. I love connecting people with other resources about this. Other piece is that if your partner asks you for your relationship to be an open relationship, for your relationship to be a polyamorous relationship, it does not mean that there's anything wrong with you or with the relationship. There's nothing wrong with you. Now, what a lot of the media and movies and people that are very misinformed or have no idea what they're talking about, or they just heard this one example and they apply it to everybody in the open and poly community, do is that they say, oh, well, this person asked for an open and poly relationship. And then they broke up like a couple months later, and that person just went and left with the other person that they were having sex with or that they were seeing. So that is very different than what mostly happens, which is that this is a genuine, like, I would really like to honor you. I would really like to honor you and me. I'd like to be successful with you in this relationship. And I don't get that if we continue to be monogamous, I can do that. So I'm actually respecting you greatly by asking you for something that I think would contribute to our relationship, to both of us individually and together. Are you willing to do that? That's very, very different. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. And I invite you to actually look at what it could add to your relationship, to have your partner be reminded of what's attractive about them, for them to have new experiences and adventures that maybe you're not in the mood for all the time, or that you're not interested in, for them to nurture other hobbies and interests, and then come back and have something else to talk about with you, for you not to be attached at the hip, and for you to have faith in yourself, confidence in yourself and in them, that they will bring things up to you. And that is an acknowledgement of that. The fact that they're asking means that they're willing to be vulnerable enough with you to ask for something different and create something different with you. Three. And this is one, I gotta admit, this one kind of drives me up the wall sometimes. I am calmer about it today, okay? I'm calmer about it today, yay. But this myth is everyone that is in open and poly relationships are just full of disease. It's just filthy, it's gross. They're just infecting each other with sexually transmitted infections. Interestingly, if you actually look at the research, if you actually know people who are open and poly and are just using all of this misinformation and lies that are spread about the community to guide your choices or no choices, you will actually realize that that it's more likely for you to contract a sexually transmitted disease in a relationship that's monogamous versus open and poly. Why do I say that? Well, because open and poly relationships, you are talking about STIs, sexually transmitted diseases. You're talking about safe sex. You're talking about protection. You're talking about getting tested on a regular basis, instead of assuming that the people that you're having sex with are clean, which is, I hate that term because it implies that people who have sexually transmitted infections are dirty, and they're not. Okay. So see, I'm calm. But this is one of those things where it is actually a lot of the people that are monogamous, they keep having these being infected because they're assuming that the person that they're with is, one, not cheating on them, two, getting tested, three, using contraception and condoms when they may or may not be doing that. While people who are willing to have these dynamic conversations in open and poly relationships, and it's very much required, don't assume that. And if you are, this is overall, if you are in any of these types of relationships, monogamous, open, or poly, and you're not willing to have these conversations, please start. Please reach out to me if you need tips on how to do this, because this is super important. And it's not just about safe sex, it's about everything. Okay. So that's the third one. We are not all disease ridden. Okay. Fourth myth that I hear about a lot, and maybe it's because I work with children and families so much, is that it's not possible to have kids while you have an open and poly relationship, or it's not possible for your kids to know about it. And that's a big lie. It's just about how are you going to present it to them. I know a lot of families that have kids where they have a poly dynamic and they call the other people auntie, or they present them as a friend, and it's just another person that gets to contribute to this child's life, that cares for them, that loves them, that can pick them up from soccer, that can contribute to the money if it's a polyfidelity situation and everyone's faithful to each other and it's a polyfidelity household. So you share chores and you share bills and you share childcare and so much more. Like, it actually can create a lot of space and ease in children's lives because they're seeing their parents nurtured, cared for, happy. What? Happy? Yeah. And what would it create if your children saw you happy? And what would it create if your children knew that this was a possibility for them, if when they are considering what type of relationship dynamics they'd like to have, they knew that this was something that was an option. Many of us don't even think about this until very late or whenever you find out about it. And gosh, and then you go and you're like, man, I wish I had thought of this when I was in high school, when I was in college, when I was in my blah, blah, blah years, whatever, fill in the blank. And you could actually, by telling your kids about it from a space of no shame, of no judgment about you or them, like you're not going to tell them they have to have that dynamic, that they have to choose that, but letting them know, this is what I'm choosing. It makes me happy. I'm not asking for your approval, but I don't want you to be blindsided or surprised if you hear about that I'm going out with this person or you meet this person, and that I'd really appreciate it if you treated them with respect, because I know they will be treating you with respect. And that's it. All right. So there's a lot of different ways to present it to kids and at an age appropriate way. So depending on the child's age, you'll mention it and present it in a different way. If you'd like tips about that, let me know. The last myth kind of connects to one of the first ones. It's not cheating, and it's not a sign that you're going to break up if you are being asked or considering open or poly dynamics. All right. It might be the very thing that keeps you together. I can't tell you how many people I've met and how many people I've done coaching sessions with where when they finally actually looked at this from a space of no judgment, from not a space of, oh, this over there, or, oh, my church says this, my family says this, what will my friends think of me, blah, 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 blah. And it's about what everyone else is going to think instead of what's going to work for you. It actually saves their relationships. And you don't have to choose it now and forever. They're constantly evolving and shifting. I've had it where sometimes it's open one side and the other person's poly, where they're having other relationships and maybe I'm just having one night stands, or the other way around. I've had it where we're both doing multiple relationships. I've had it where we're both monogamous. You keep checking in, and this is one relationship I'm talking about with one primary partner where it kept shifting and changing in this way. And it was whatever was going to work for us at the time, whatever was going on with the other people we added on into our lives. There are going to be breakups with the other people as well, potentially. But we would stay together having these conversations. And I'm not with this particular person that I'm thinking of right now, but we're still really good friends because the platform for our relationship was friendship and communication, was having this level of vulnerability and this level of receiving that is just really, really beautiful. And so I wonder if you're willing to have these uncomfortable, vulnerable, dynamic conversations about all the different possible relationship dynamics you could choose, what it would create for you, what it would create for you and your relationships, for your body, for your life, for your business, for everything. I mean, when you are nurturing what's true for you and you're nurturing your body, everything else benefits, everything else expands. And so I wanted to address these 5 top myths. Let me know if you have any questions about this. Put your comments below this video if you're checking this out on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you like this content and you'd like more of it. And really ask for if you'd like some more in-depth tips about any of this. And feel free to check out any of the other videos that I have about this, especially those that include how to talk about children with about energy and bodies and sexuality, how to talk about with your partner, and consider joining us in the year-long exploration of exuberantly you in sex, dating, and relationships. We talk about this in an in-depth, vulnerable way, and it's really created by the people that are part of the journey. And so I'd love to have you as a part of it, and I'd love to continue to contribute to you with really good content and videos, okay? So thanks so much, and hopefully this was a contribution to you and helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.